Hi, it's me. I'm sitting in my husband's closet again trying to record this, and I am telling you, you won't believe how many times I had to restart this voice recording. How many times I keep on struggling, yeah, see? I keep on fumbling over my words, and I'm not going to restart this. So I hope you guys will be able to forgive me. Maybe it's got something to do with sitting in the closet and not having a lot of air, but I'm gonna do my best. Also, my recording equipment, aka my trusty little cell phone, is not very good. It's not as good as my previous one, but I hope you guys can forgive me that. The first thing, I painted these orcas on canvas, canvas covered hardboard that I primed, and I know on this recording, on this video, it looks very much turquoise. But if you stay tuned to the end of the video, you'll see the end result of the actual color is actually more of a green than this blue. It's got more green in it anyway, so it's also not that bad. For these orcas, I decided I wanted to make them under the water, and then I decided I wanted to make them above the water jumping, and then I decided, no, okay, well, let's put it halfway in, halfway out. And I started off with the white. I started off with drawing the outlines, and if you look carefully, you can see the faint pencil outlines of my two orcas. So then I started with the white, and on the white parts in their face and on their bellies and everything. So that's what I did here. And then I added blue. I didn't start off exactly, it was just exactly. I cannot speak today. I did not start off with the black because of reflections, the reflection of the water, of the sky and everything. So I used the same type of blue that I added there at the bottom of the canvas, where it's the depths of the sea. And so I used the same type of blue to put in the dark parts where the black is supposed to be. Then I did the black, went over it. It's not very saturated. I watered it down a lot to make it translucent. But I did start with the edges where there's the natural rounding of the orca's head, where the shading is more deeper. And then I blended it softly in towards the middle, not covering the blue completely. A nice blend, which is something you can do when the paint is still wet, but unfortunately I had to switch my fan off. Even though I get so hot at the moment, I had to switch my fan off because then it just blows my paint drier faster, and then it doesn't really want to blend anymore. So I had to put my fan off, but I still enjoyed doing this painting for what it's worth. So yes, not very saturated black. Underneath, under the fin, for example, I would put the black, make the black a little bit more darker, a little bit more saturated, and then just blend it in towards the middle. I was finished putting in the black, I realized that there is some parts that needs to be a little bit more saturated, so I just went over the black and made it a little bit more darker, especially for instance by the whale's tail, by the orca's tail, to show a little bit of depth. And then I used white to point out where the edge of the water is going to be. And so I made tiny little ripples on the horizon and slightly bigger ripples coming forward. So placing smaller ripples behind the orca and then a little bit larger ripples in front of the orca shows that the head is semi out of the water. Then I started on the icebergs. I just loosely used white to put it in where I think they are going to go, and also underneath the water, just the outlines to show that there is icebergs on the side, even under the water. Using the same blue I used at the bottom of the ocean and in the orca's reflections, I used the same type of blue to put into the icebergs. I wasn't completely satisfied with how the icebergs turned out, but I did fix it a little bit later on, so just wait and see. Adding in the droplets and the little bit of splashes that rolls off of the face of the one orca. Also just used plain white to start off with, and I decided that the bottom needs to be a little bit more darker, so I used a blend of the same blue, only I made it slightly darker with some black, but very, very lightly. It's watered down quite a lot. I just added in more depth and shading using that blue-black mixture. Not saturated at all. Going over the orcas, even though it covered most of the white, it just shows that it's underwater and the two pictures blend in quite good. And then I added some more shading underwater in the ripples using the same blue, and then a little bit more white at the top to make the ripples reflect the white a little bit more. And then I thought that the icebergs needed more shading and more depth, so I used the same blue to put in the shading into the icebergs, and even that did not look very good for me. Blended some white in there to make it look a little bit more misty. Also not very saturated. Just blend it and blend it and blend it so it has this slight mist feel there behind the orcas. And then I made I'm not going to start this over, even though I can't speak to save my life today. I used the white to make the reflective ripples on the underwater orca, using my finger just to dab it so that it's not quite as sharp, and then blending it in a little bit also. For the auroras, I used the same type of green that I used in the water, and then going over it with the white, and then quickly blending it up with a rough bigger brush up to make the lights. I did go over this a couple of times. I first put on the green, then the white, and then I thought, no, maybe I must put on the white first and then the green. But the thing is, I just kept at it until I was satisfied with the outcome. I used black, desaturated black, watered down black in the mountains, and that made it look even worse. But I did make it dark at the bottom of inside the water, and then I just used my fine liner brush and just added a tiny little bit more details to sharpen the edges strategically. I had to slow down for that word also. Sharpen the edges only in certain parts, because you don't want all of the lines to be too sharp, because then it stops looking all fuzzy like it's under the water. So I used black and I used white just to accentuate certain highlights and certain shadings. Even on the icebergs, I sharpened some of the highlighted areas. For the stars, I tried this whole flicking technique, first with a brush, then a penknife, then a toothbrush, and made a mess, made blotches that I had to wipe off. But I've tried it and I'm not very good at it, but I'll keep on practicing. For some reason, when I flick, it just goes all over the place and I miss blotches. And then I just once again went over it, made the bottom darker, made the highlights lighter, tried to put in some more stars, made more blotches, added more white to the auroras just to make it seem like it's glowing. So I just kept on working on it until I was satisfied with the result. Remembered that I needed to make more ripples there where the fin of the one orca is sticking out. I almost forgot that, but yeah, luckily, sometimes saying, okay, let me look at this painting or drawing from afar and getting the whole picture. Sometimes you're too close to the subject and then you miss common things like, you know what, that fin needs ripples. Let me make more ripples. And this is where I decided that my icebergs looked like fluffy clouds and not icebergs, and the black didn't work. So I went over it again with the white horizontally from top to bottom to give it sharper edges and take away some of that black, and that looked more like icebergs. So I just added the same blue for the shading instead of the black. It looked a whole lot better. Added in some more highlights and details, and this is the end of my video. Finally, I made it through it. Anyway, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, even though I'm stumbling over my words. Please forgive me and show me some love. Thanks a million. This is the end result. Hope you enjoyed. Love you. Bye.